I think you all know that I think this is a very exciting time for business and for business schools, because all around us we see rising social need and just the struggle that government is having to keep up. That means there's a growing role for the private sector and a growing role for business leaders such as yourselves. But of course, we also know these are challenging times for business. Everywhere we look around, firms are doing much more with much less. Whole careers are being disrupted and downsized before our very eyes. Think about lawyers, accountants, pathologists, even optometrists, I think, potentially are being affected by new entrants. But what's true about all of those professions is that they place a premium on repeatability and reducing errors, and that's what machines are good at. But we know that there's a bigger premium in the business world today, and that's the premium on the combination of creativity and judgment that you all embody. This is the focus of your Wharton education. And of course, we don't teach creativity through poetry at Wharton, even though we've got some poets in our midst. We also don't do philosophy when we want to talk about judgment, even though we have lots of philosophers on the faculty. What we do at Wharton, as you know, is we focus on analytics to improve decision-making and judgment, and on innovation to turbocharge creativity. So that's the world, but enough of it. This is your day. It's a day to celebrate, it's a day long to remember, it's a day for us to congratulate you on all you've achieved, but also to thank you for all the investments you've made in making Wharton an even greater place. You're an extraordinary class. I don't have to tell you that you've completed the most academically rigorous MBA in the world, and I doff my cap to you for that. You should be really proud to know that this graduating class had the highest GPA cutoff for honours since the new grading system was implemented at Wharton 5 years ago. And in addition to that, an almost unprecedented 40% of you completed 2 or more majors while you were here. Now, you know that the classroom is important, but I think we all know that what you've done outside the classroom is at least as important. In challenging yourselves to achieve things you didn't think were possible, in building lifelong relationships with wonderful and talented people, and emerging as leaders in business and in life for the rest of your lives. Your time here started with a bang. I don't know whether you can remember it, but you're the first class to be admitted to the Wharton School through team-based discussion. We think it helped us find the best class, that is you, but we know it also helped you bond. Apparently your winter welcome weekend was one of the most boisterous, energetic, and enthusiastic in memory. Why? Because many of you knew each other already from your team-based discussion interviews. And some of you were so excited about winter welcome that you had to come back again and do it at spring welcome weekend. Great recidivism. And then, of course, when it came to your preterm, there are 2 words, Jackie Wong. Jackie's a man of many talents, as I've come to know over the last 12 months, but I didn't quite know about his organizational and inspirational talents. Getting 300 of you to the US Open in your first week on campus is pretty impressive, particularly since that traffic to Flushing Meadow is quite a challenge. Now, of course, things quickly become traditions at the Wharton School, but of course traditions also have to be exceeded, so apparently the tennis trip got to 308 participants this year. Now, the thing that's true about that weekend is the thing that strikes me as being truest about all of you, which is that being a full-time MBA student is literally a 24/7 experience for you for 2 years. You gave up so much to be here. For those in the audience, we tend to use some social science jargon here to say the opportunity costs of an MBA are very high. But the consequence is, once you decided to come here, you threw yourselves into your Wharton experience headlong and with both feet. In thinking about that 24/7-ness, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to describe your experience. I'd rather have your own words speak. So we did some research coming from your Wharton diaries, and a couple of posts by a couple of students who remain nameless, but I'm sure not unknown to you, really stood out to me. Here's one from the end of preterm 2 years ago. So far, I have danced in front of the entire class during the Cluster Olympics opening ceremony, participated and failed at a bench press competition, competed in a hot dog eating contest at Japan Night, failed again, crawled in the dirt and hid behind bushes during an epic paintball match, paid my deposit for the leadership venture trek to Antarctica, of all places, went to my first boxing class, and became a board member in the Travel and Hospitality Club. That's just one student talking about 3 weeks. I know for all of you, the breadth and depth and intensity of your experiences have been amplified over 2 years. But I was also struck in those early posts by what another of your classmates said, not about you as individuals, but about you as a community. And here's the quotation. All through preterm, I continued to be amazed at the different perspectives, the knowledge, and most of all, the willingness to share and learn together. I guess perhaps I expected some arrogance with so many accomplished individuals in one class, but I'm happy to report that I was wrong. Just by being around such wonderful people, I believe I've already learned a lot each day about consulting, about finance, but most importantly, about being human. And talk about being human, David Fajgenbaum. We're going to hear a lot from David in a minute, but I think you all know that he couldn't have gone on his journey without you and with about all of your support. I remember very much being convinced to have my picture taken and being talked into attending the pre-pub workout that was going to support David in his endeavors. Now, it didn't quite fit into my schedule, and I was wearing a suit at the time, so I begged out of it. But the next day, I remember seeing Howie and Mary Ellen Lamb. They were both glowing, but they were also both hobbling. And I realized that my discretion was the better part of valor. Now, I think everyone knows that David came to Wharton as an MD, as a doctor, because he knew that is so often true in life, many of the biggest medical challenges we face actually turn out to be, in important respects, business problems. And I'm very glad to report that after graduating today, David's going to go back to Penn Medicine, but this time as a research professor. Truly impressive achievement. Now, I've talked a little bit about being all in as an MBA. I've talked a little about being human. So I'm going to read from one last blog post that really struck me. And this time I think I have to reveal the author. The author is Josh Johnson, and here's the post. I showed up to preterm my first year 2 days after my wedding with a head full of dreams, a car full of stuff, and not much else. We had no time for a honeymoon or to hunt for an apartment. So I came alone and slept on a friend's floor for 10 days until we got an apartment. Once my wife finally did arrive in Philadelphia, there was little opportunity to make up for lost time. We needed to learn how to be a married couple in parallel with the experiential pressures of business school. But I'm so glad that there was a happy ending to this story. Josh concludes the post by saying, as the sprint that was my life as an MBA student draws to a close, and I think you can all empathize with those words, it is crystal clear to me that each and every success and failure that I've had here has been defined by my wife, running by my side and in some cases carrying me to the finish line. Everyone else in this class has people like that who've helped you get here today. Congratulate you and everyone who supported you. Now, let's do the pivot thing to the future. You all did incredible things before you came here. You've done fantastic things while you've been here, and I have no doubt you'll do amazing things after you leave. But remember only a couple of things. Remember that your success is our success. Go for it with everything you've got in whatever ways are most meaningful to you. And think about 3 words that are always in my mind. The first one is authentic. Be authentic. Be yourself, not only because it's easiest for you, but because it's what you're best at. But don't use being authentic as an excuse to do anything and everything. Always try to be self-aware of how you interact with your environment, what you mean to other people, what you get from other people, understanding that relationships are at the core of everything we do, not only in business but in life, is key, I think. But being authentic and being self-aware, they're not the hardest part. I think the hardest part is to be self-reflective, to look inside yourselves always and think about what matters most to you and how your actions shape the world as you want it to be. So if you're authentic, if you're self-aware, and if you're self-reflective, I have no doubt you will go out and conquer every mountain that you want to climb. But always know that you are part of the best business school family in the world, the Wharton School family, now and forever.